basic aspect of our economy, right? Very basic aspect of our economy. It's what you find in Malata. That's where the very basic poor, lower levels of our society, so to speak, will play, right? That's where you find them. And so you say, but they're so far away from the dollar because none of them have even dreamt about or seen the dollar before, right? Yeah. But what I found around through that was that the reasons why they were complaining to me about the prices largely had to do with the dollar. Largely. Why do I say that? So you go to a woman who's selling smoked fish, right? It turns out the part of that fish that is being sold, some, not all of it, but some of what she sells, it's part of it is imported, right? Frozen fish. Okay, part of it is imported. And then so she tells me when she goes to buy from the cold store, those who bring, it's the prices have gone up. And so obviously it's reflecting in that. So, and of course, if you're importing fish, what are you using to import the fish? You're using dollars. You're changing cedis into dollars so that you can buy it.
Basically, you're buying dollars to do that, yeah.
True. So you see the impact on the price of fish for that which we import. It's costing. And then you move on to the tomato seller, right? The tomato seller says for the tomatoes that are grown in Ghana, there's no problem with it. But for those that they import from, they import for Burkina Faso, right? There's a problem with the CFA, Ghana, cedi, and the CFA.
Yes.
Okay. And we talk a lot about, the cedi depreciating against the dollar, right? The cedi depreciating against the dollar. But we don't talk a lot about how the cedi is performing against the other currencies. I mean, you possibly will hear how it's doing against the pound, etc.
The dollar.
But apparently, currencies. But apparently,
that's the actual term.
But apparently, it's not performing as well against the CFA too. So for the woman who is also importing ordinary stuff like tomato, right, imported from Burkina Faso, again, the exchange rate problem is there. So you're going to see a reflection in the price of tomato you buy. Then I move on to this shop. The woman is selling a long car, selling wheat.
Oh,
right.
That one said different.
Yes, selling wheat, and this is an ordinary market woman selling wheat in Olonka, right? So the wheat is there in the plastic that sits in a bowl, and then she'll scoop it up, measure it, and pour. But we know wheat is coming from where? Ukraine has come into play here, and then you have sugar, right? And then you have flour. So again, the dollar effect is there because you're importing a lot of the raw materials for that. Mm-hmm. And then the shop behind her, a young lady comes in and wants to buy sweet corn.
Yeah.
Right? And this sweet corn is canned, imported. She had come the day before and she was told it was, the week before, and she was told it was 7 cedis. I was talking to the shop attendant, the owner of the shop, this very lovely, woman who, of course, looks very beaten by the economic circumstances, but she runs the shop very proudly. I mean, this is a very ordinary, I won't even call it a shop, it's a store. So I was talking to her when behind me I heard this young lady asking for the price of sweet corn. So I turned and I said, can I talk to her? I mean, so I said, witnessing what was happening. And then they said, how much is a sweet corn? And the woman says, it's 12 cedis. But this is something that when she came last week to check the price, she was told it's 7 cedis. She comes a week on to buy, prepared with 7 cedis at least. She asked it, and the woman says it's now 12 cedis. So she now needs 5 more cedis to buy the sweet corn. And she chuckled. And then so I asked her, can't you go and check the price elsewhere? She said she's looked everywhere, she can't find that sweet corn. So she has to buy it at all costs. And she goes into her purse. This is a young lady who hasn't got anything on her. But she finds, the extra 5 cedis painfully and pays for it. Again, dollar effects there. Then my biggest surprise, I go to the butcher shop. Yeah. And I ask a butcher, we have plenty cow cattle is in abundance in Ghana, goat and sheep, no problem. Guess what, Raymond? The guys say that we run out of cow, goat, and sheep in Ghana in the quantity you require to run a butcher shop like that. So they're having to import goat, sheep, and cow. They're going as far as Niger to drive the livestock, drive it. Mm-hmm. And it takes up to 5,000 cedi per cattle to come to Accra. And again, they are buying it safer, right? Because Francophone countries, etc. So they are changing. Sometimes they need the dollars. Because sometimes they even go, they say, they even the safer, they need the dollar to do the business. So that too is affecting price of meat. The guy tells me there was a time in March or April, one of them, where in 1 week they changed the price of meat twice because of the forex and depreciation of the cedi question I'm talking about. I mean, I started by saying that 80% of the pain that most of you who are watching us today are feeling is down to the cedi's the free fall, not only against the dollar but against almost everything else. And being in the market for a couple of hours convinced me that if we solve that problem, look, the inflation challenges. Didn't you hear even the financiers say that our inflation is imported?
Yes, and of course, even the people at the Statistical Service have made this point before. Just when you started talking about it, Famous Smith said something here, and he said, Evans, you are hitting the exact point. Our economy is really in a great mess. That's actually what his comment on our live feed. And I was checking it because it's important that the people's real reaction to it is felt immediately.
Yeah.
Now, let's put it in proper perspective. For a country that consistently had praised itself that we were doing single-digit inflation, and that it meant that prices were not on the increase at the rate that every day. And one of the things people hated in this country was the things that when you went up in the market in the morning, in the afternoon you go back, the prices change. You're talking about in a matter of days, and after things happening like that. The biggest difficulty we've had with the economy, people will not pretend they don't know, is that our means of production and what we eat, consume most predominantly, has been in the hands of foreigners. Why so? We import basically all the things that are essential to us, from sugar straight down to even sometimes the behavioral supplements that we're in the kitchen. Yeah. So whenever you are in any form of crisis, it shows there. When you are struggling with your currency, it is big time being seen. But we knew this not long ago. That's why we made the pledge that we're going to make sure that we have factories that produces local things, to make sure that Ghanaians can take care of some of these things themselves. And beyond that, to make sure that all of these are not outside the reach of the people. So, factual. But let's think back. You remember the 2014 Dr. Bamia lecture you consistently reference?
Yes.
It situates the currency crisis at the center of the then crisis the country.
That's true.
You can go back to the 70s, 80s.
That's true.
I was talking to Professor Industrialization not long ago. He also highlighted the same thing.
That's true.
So for a country that in the last 60 years has known that whenever we have this kind of crisis, it spirals into other areas, it only makes sense that we avoid it or we do things to change it. But what happened? It's because we have been dependent on Eurobond. And let's not trace it now. Since 2013, virtually every year, we're doing 1 billion, 1.5, 900, $750 million. Since we couldn't get the 3 billion beginning of the year, the economy started falling down at all levels, just because we couldn't get Eurobond. Yeah. It tells you that somebody else is supporting your economy. This economy that is built on independence, this economy that is built on proud people, that requires very little help from outside, mainly because we couldn't borrow. Beginning of the year, it actually landed us in trouble. But it's because we've had a borrowing crisis before. And as of even 2019, it was worse. So if we talk about the currency crisis, it's almost like saying, and you see, let's look at it this way. To a very large extent, it's the same crisis that feeds into part of what happened to the fuel problems we had. Yeah. You watch it keenly. Yes, because even when the international crude prices were coming down, we were not having any impact on our current local pump prices because there was a very serious issue to do with the exchange rate.
Yeah.
And we know this. We have known this. The worst part of the conversation is the fact that when it comes to the reality that the Bank of Ghana appears to be doing very little, or, you know, we complain for almost 2 months. Yeah, that, hey, no action from you. You are pretending that nothing is happening. You are letting things go as usual. Intervene. What are you doing? Then we heard responses, oh, wait, we are pumping in dollars. Then we are doing auctions. Then they say, oh, no, we are auctioning not enough so that we don't want to put the excess amount of money. It's because we didn't have the dollars. And our research position showed clearly that we didn't have the dollars. Because we are afraid that if we push all of our dollars into this system, what will happen? We will not be able to buy crude.
Yeah, it will be a black hole. Yes.
In fact, I spoke to economists who said, let's not pretend that if we have excess amount of dollars in the system, we will be able to stabilize the system. See, today, the biggest solution I've heard from government is not what the Bank of Ghana has said, though. It's what the information minister is saying.
Which is
that 750 million aphorism is our interim plan. In the not so distant future, by October, we are waiting for the cocoa syndicated loan.
Yeah.
If we get almost like 2 billion from there, then we know that we have enough dollars to pump into the system so that it can stabilize the thing. Touch wood, if any of this delay any further, Evan Spencer, we are in deeper trouble. Yeah. So it tells you the entire story. It means that all the wonderful things they say about the economy, fundamentally they change nothing.
You know,
fundamentally, the things that actually drive the fact that we should do more exports and do less imports, it has not changed much. Yeah. And it tells you that we are very lazy at managing it. And see, there's a toolbox of possible solutions every government has at its disposal. The Bank of Ghana today, that's supposed to be helping stabilize the city, is at its wit's end. It has run out of options. Because if it doesn't take care and it pumps all the dollars, recently, just yesterday or so, I saw a story. In fact, nowadays I avoid the side of the business news where they actually tell you the exchange rate. And when you avoid it, then social media to just share the same pictures with you so that your blood pressure will be rising. But think about the ordinary person who is doing imports.
Yeah.
And the good people who are complaining. The guy says, I didn't do anything. I didn't get any extraordinary profit. Even if I kept my money in the bank for whichever period, I'm still losing a chunk of the amount of money because the cedi, which just around 16 was just 4 cedi to $1. It's now 10 cedi to $1. Think about it that way.
But that's amazing. And
just around 2016, a matter of just less than 6 years.
You made a very important point, and we've been talking about changing the structure of the economy for decades.
Since, in fact, this government...
Since before independence.
See, there's a definition of insanity.
In fact...
Doing the same thing, expecting different results.
In Nkrumah's 7-year development plan...
At the core of it... was to achieve the same purpose.
Yes. Was to achieve this. Of course, he didn't get to see it through because it
was truncated.
Since then, every government since Nkrumah has talked about, doing away with the gorgeous back economy.
Yeah. Repeated by this current government.
In fact, no government had trumpeted that mantra more than this government.
In fact, the entire one district, one factory
was based on
to achieve that particular purpose.
Okay. And they came in 2017 with that goal. In fact, they even rebranded that a bit to say from taxation to production.
Yeah.
Right? Industrialization. So they wanted to create several hubs. They wanted to create let's keep some things to them. They said they wanted to create a vehicle assembling hub or a vehicle manufacturing hub, whatever they called it, but they had a plan to have foreign powers when it comes to vehicle manufacturing, adopt Ghana as their base for the SAP region, etc., and assemble. That has largely materialized because we have the VWs, Nissans, etc., all setting up base here to assemble cars. And there's a directive, I noticed from the chief of staff to some agencies to buy these assembled vehicles. And I remember in the early years, there was almost a competition between Ghana and Rwanda about, this thing about which cars are going to be assembled, etc. So I'll give it to them. I think as for that, they've done it. So now it's about milking that and expanding on it. So they've done it. So there's some achievement there. If you look at one district, one factory, they haven't done every district, but they've done some districts. I noticed, though, that the problem is that they haven't even managed to sell that story well, right? In terms of what they've done so far with one district, one factory. But overall, in 6 years, when it comes to changing
Hold on, you give me a second on
yes.
this one. Listen, if you know that you have a fundamental problem with your economy,
yeah.
what you do with one district, one factory is to pick the mental areas where you do imports.
And focus.
Yeah. Build the factories there, get the replacement. Import substitution, industrialization is the plan. So you substitute immediately. You don't go and chase somebody's car battery factory. You don't go and actually go and paint and do some other things. Don't spread around and pretend that you are doing factories. What you do is target the main contributory areas to inflation.
And also where you have a competitive advantage.
Yes. So those are the areas that you deal with first. You don't just spread around at 150, 240 or whichever one you think you are doing.
But that was going to leads me nicely to my major point, which is there's a reason why overall the structure of this economy hasn't changed much in spite of all that effort.
Yeah.
Because, or one of the reasons is because of what you just said. Because the plan and intention is right. The execution and strategy sometimes hasn't been as top notch. So what you're saying is clear. You want to do one district, one factory. That's fine. But what was the strategy? What was the strategy in there to say, what should we focus on in terms of what factories to set up and where? What's the key? And others raised this at the beginning. So there's a disconnect there. Now, again, you have a situation where you are assembling cars here. But then we have a population that can't afford to buy the cars yet. And so we are still heavily reliant on second-hand vehicles. We have a banking sector that could help with, purchasing. But we know the banking sector want to do business with government.
Yeah.
Want to do business with government because it's less risky. The money is quick. You don't